Daeho Park wiped the sweat from his forehead as he climbed through the twisted metal ruins of what used to be downtown Seoul. The morning sun cast long shadows across the broken concrete and rusted steel that stretched as far as he could see. Above him, the sky held its usual sickly yellow tint from the dust that never seemed to settle. He had been walking for 3 hours now, searching through the wreckage for anything useful. His worn boots crunched on broken glass and debris as if he made his way toward the industrial district. Most scavengers avoided this area because the radiation readings were higher here. But Daeho knew the best salvage was always in the places others feared to go. Settlement 7 needed power cells again. Their geothermal generators were failing one by one, and without them, the air recyclers would shut down. Hyun-woo Kim, their settlement leader, had made it clear during the morning meeting that finding replacement parts was their top priority. But Daeho was not looking for ordinary power cells today. For months, he'd been thinking about the alien wrecks scattered across the surface. When the evacuation wars ended 20 years ago, the different alien species had left behind massive amounts of technology. Most of it was damaged or broken, but Daeho could not shake the feeling that there was something valuable hidden in those metal husks. He stopped at the edge of what used to be a shopping center and pulled out a scanner. The device was a mix of human electronics and alien components he had found and modified over the years. The readings showed the usual low-level radiation and some scattered metal deposits, but nothing interesting. Daeho was about to move on when his scanner picked up something unusual. Deep beneath a pile of concrete slabs, there was an energy signature. It was faint, almost nothing, but it was there. His heart started beating faster as he realized what this might mean. He spent the next 2 hours digging through the rubble. With his metal bar and small shovel, the work was hard and dangerous. Twice, large chunks of concrete shifted and nearly crushed him. But finally, he uncovered what he had been looking for. It was a Valorian quantum drive core, about the size of a small car. The metal surface was covered in strange markings that seemed to shift and change when he was not looking directly at them. Most of the outer casing was cracked, and several components had been torn away, probably during the crash that brought it here. Daeho had seen these drives before. They were supposed to be the most advanced propulsion technology in the galaxy. The Valorians used them to travel between star systems in ways that human scientists still did not understand. But like all the alien technology left on Earth, this one appeared to be completely dead. He ran his scanner over the surface and was surprised by what he found. While the drive looked destroyed, there were still active energy patterns inside. They were weak and irregular, but they were definitely there. Every other alien device he had examined showed no internal activity at all. The drive was too heavy for him to carry alone. So Daeho spent another hour rigging up a makeshift sled from metal sheets and cables. The trip back to Settlement 7 took most of the afternoon. The sled kept getting stuck on debris, and he had to rest every few hundred meters. By the time he reached the entrance to Settlement 7, his hands were bleeding and his back felt like it was on fire. The guards at the surface access point stared at him in confusion as he dragged the massive alien device toward the elevator. "What is that thing, Daeho?" asked Woo-nam, one of the younger guards. The boy was only 19 and had been working surface duty for less than a year. "Valorian drive core," Daeho panted, wiping dirt from his face. "Found it buried in the old shopping district." Jinwoo's eyes went wide. "Is it dangerous? Should I call the medical team?" "Dead. Just heavy." Daeho was not entirely sure this was true, but he did not want to cause a panic. The energy readings he had detected were too weak to be harmful, he hoped. The elevator ride down to the main settlement level took 10 minutes. 8. Settlement 7 was built into a natural cave system that had been expanded and reinforced over the years. The main living area could house about 800 people, though their current population was closer to 600. Word of Daeho's find spread quickly through the narrow corridors and common areas. By the time he reached his workshop, a small crowd had gathered to watch. Among them was Minji Lee, the settlement's chief medical officer and Daeho's oldest friend. "You look terrible," Minji said, checking his hands for cuts. "And you smell worse. What were you doing up there all day? Found something interesting?" Daeho gestured toward the drive core, which now sat in the middle of his workshop floor. This thing is not as dead as it looks. Minji raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Before Daeho could answer, Hyunwoo Kim pushed through the crowd. The settlement leader was a tall man in his 50s, with gray hair and permanent worry lines around his eyes. He took one look at the alien device and shook his head. Daeho, we talked about this. You need practical salvage, not more junk for your experiments. Hyunwoo's voice carried the weight of a man who had been responsible for keeping people alive for too many years. This is not junk, Daeho insisted. My scanner detected active energy patterns inside. If I can figure out how to access them, if Hyunwoo interrupted. While you waste time with impossible projects, our generators are failing. We have maybe 3 months before the air recyclers shut down completely. 3 months, Daeho? The crowd murmured nervously. Everyone knew their situation was bad, but hearing it stated so bluntly made it real in a way that was hard to ignore. Give me 2 weeks, Daeho said. If I can't get anything useful from this drive in 2 weeks, I'll focus on finding conventional power sources. Hyun stared at him for a long moment, then looked around at the faces watching them. These people needed hope as much as they needed power. Fine, 2 weeks. But if you blow us all up with that thing, I'm going to be very unhappy with you. After the crowd dispersed, Minji stayed behind to help Daeho move the drive core to his main work table. The device was even more impressive up close. The metal surface seemed to absorb light in strange ways, and the alien markings definitely moved when observed from different angles. Do you really think you can make this work? Minji asked, as they positioned the core under his examination. Lights. Daeho ran his hands over the cracked casing, feeling for access points or removable panels. I don't know. But I have to try. We're dying down here, Minji. Slowly but surely, we're dying. Maybe this thing can help us live. Outside in the corridor, Jinwoo Nam pressed his ear to the workshop door, trying to hear what the engineer was planning. The young man had always been fascinated by technology, and the idea that Daeho might actually repair alien equipment was the most exciting thing that had happened in Settlement 7 in years. As night fell over the ruins above them, Daeho began the work that would change everything. He had no way of knowing that his desperate attempt to save his settlement would soon wake up an entire planet. 3 days had passed since Daeho brought the Valorian drive core to his workshop. He had barely slept during that time, spending every waking hour studying the alien device. His eyes were red from staring at technical readouts, and his hands were stained with grease and metal polish. The drive core sat on his main work table like a puzzle that refused to be solved. Daeho had removed 12 outer panels, revealing a maze of crystalline components and metal conduits that seemed to follow. No logical pattern. Everything was connected to everything else in ways that made no sense, according to human engineering principles. You look like you haven't eaten in days, Mingi said, as she entered the workshop carrying a tray of food. Because you probably haven't. Daeho looked up from his scanner display and rubbed his tired eyes. I found something, Minji. The energy patterns inside this thing are not random. They're following a sequence, like a program running in slow motion. Minji set the food tray down and looked at the exposed interior of the drive core. The crystalline components were glowing with a faint blue light that pulsed in a steady rhythm. Is that normal for Valorian technology? I don't know what's normal for Valorian technology. No human has ever successfully operated one of these. Daeho picked up a piece of bread from the tray and ate it without really tasting it. But I think I understand why. He walked over to a whiteboard covered in diagrams and equations. Most of the writing was in Korean, but there were also alien symbols he had copied from the drive core surface. Look at this, Daeho said, pointing to a series of energy flow charts. Human fusion reactors work by forcing hydrogen atoms together. We use magnetic fields to contain the reaction and convert the heat into electricity. It's a brute force approach, but it works, Minji nodded. She had studied basic engineering as part of her medical training and understood the concepts. But the Valorians do something completely different, Daeho continued. They don't force anything. They create a resonance field that makes particles. Want to combine? It's like the difference between pushing someone through a door and convincing them to walk through on their own. And that's why it won't work with human power sources? Minji asked. Exactly. We've been trying to power these drives with brute force methods, but they need gentle, precise energy inputs. Our fusion reactors are like hammers trying to play a violin. Deho turned back to the drive core and ran his hand along one of the crystalline components. But I think I can build a bridge between the two technologies. Converter that takes our raw fusion power and turns it into the kind of refined energy this drive needs. Over the next week, Deho threw himself into the most complex engineering project of his life. He stripped components from 3 different fusion generators, melted down rare metal alloys, and even dissolved some of his precious electronics to extract specific elements. The work was dangerous. Twice, power surges from his experimental circuits blew out the workshop's main electrical panel. Once, a crystalline component from the drive core overheated and filled the room with toxic fumes that sent him to Minji for treatment. "You're going to kill yourself with this project," Minji warned as she treated his burned hands. "And if you don't, Hunhua might do it for you. Half the settlement thinks you're wasting resources on an impossible dream. The other half?" asked. "They think you're their only hope." Word had spread through Settlement 7 about Deho's project. Some people, like Hyun Woo, saw it as a dangerous distraction from their immediate survival needs. But others, especially the younger residents, watched his progress with growing excitement. Jinwoo Nam had become a regular visitor to the workshop, helping Deho with simple tasks and asking endless questions about the alien technology. The young man had a good instinct for engineering, and Deho found himself explaining his theories out loud as a way to organize his own thoughts. "Why do you think the Valorians built their drives this way?" Jinwoo asked one afternoon as they worked on installing a new power coupling. Deho paused in his work. "I think they see the universe differently than we do. Humans tend to solve problems by applying more force or building bigger tools. But maybe the Valorians learn to work with natural forces instead of against them." On the 10th day, a new face appeared in Deho's workshop. She was a woman in her 40s with short gray hair and intelligent eyes. Deho had never seen her before, which was unusual in a settlement where everyone knew everyone else. "You don't know me," the woman said, "but I know your work, and my name is Sunhei." "Oh, I used to design spacecraft engines before the Cascade." Deho straightened up, suddenly more alert. Pre-Cascade engineers were rare and valuable. Most had died. In the chaos of the collapse, the few survivors usually kept their backgrounds secret to avoid being overwhelmed with technical requests. "I came from Settlement 12, Sunhei continued. "We lost power 3 weeks ago and the survivors scattered. 2 other settlements. I heard about your project and wanted to see if I could help." She walked around the drive core examining Deho's modifications with the eye of an expert. After several minutes, she nodded approvingly. "This is brilliant work. You're trying to create a harmonic resonance between human fusion output and Valorian quantum requirements. The theory is sound, but your power coupling design has a critical flaw." Deho felt a mix of hope and frustration. "What kind of flaw?" Sunhei pointed to a complex assembly of crystals and metal coils. "You're assuming that the resonance needs to be constant, but quantum systems work in probability waves. The coupling needs to fluctuate in sync with the drive's internal patterns." Over the next 3 days, Deho and Sunhei worked together to rebuild the power coupling system. Her expertise in spacecraft design complemented his intuitive understanding of alien technology perfectly. They replaced rigid connections with flexible resonance chambers and added feedback loops that could adjust the power output in real time. "This is either going to work perfectly or blow up spectacularly," Sunhei said as they prepared for the first test. Deho initiated the startup sequence from his control panel while Sunhei monitored the energy readings. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the drive core's internal lights began to pulse more brightly. The resonance chamber hummed with increasing intensity. Power readings climbed steadily as the human fusion reactor synchronized with the alien quantum systems. For a moment, everything seemed to be working perfectly. Then the workshop lights exploded. Emergency power kicked in a few seconds later, bathing everything in red light. Deho and Sunhei stood in shocked silence, staring at the drive core, which was now glowing with brilliant white light. Did it work? Son, he asked quietly. Deho checked his instruments. The power readings were beyond anything he had expected. The drive core was producing more energy than Settlement 7's entire electrical grid could handle. It worked, he whispered. It actually worked. The door to the workshop burst open, and Hyun-woo Kim rushed in with 2 security guards. What happened? Half the settlement lost power for a minute, and people are reporting strange lights. Deho turned to face the settlement leader with a smile that he couldn't suppress. Hyun-woo, we need to talk. I think I just solved our energy crisis. Outside the workshop, people gathered in the corridors, pointing and whispering about the bright light seeping from under Deho's door. Jin-woo Nam stood among them, grinning with excitement as he realized that something extraordinary had just happened. The drive core hummed quietly. Its alien systems fully active for the first time in decades. None of them knew that its awakening had sent a signal across the surface of Earth, reaching other dormant technologies that had been waiting patiently for this moment. The morning after Deho successfully activated the drive core, strange things began happening across Settlement 7. The first sign was the lights. Instead of the usual dim yellow glow from their failing generators, the corridors were filled with bright white light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Minji noticed it first. When she arrived at the medical bay to begin her morning rounds, the diagnostic equipment that had been running on emergency power for months was suddenly operating at full capacity. Machines she had given up for dead were humming with life, displaying readings she had not seen in years. Deho, what did you do? She whispered to herself as she stared at a medical scanner that was running a complete system diagnostic on its own. 3 levels down, Hyun-woo Kim was having similar thoughts as he watched the settlement's main control board. Every system was showing green lights. The air recyclers were running at maximum efficiency. Water purification was working perfectly. Even the waste processing units were operating better than they had when they were first installed. But the most surprising change was happening on the surface. Gae-young Choi had been Settlement 7's communications officer for 8 years. Her job mainly involved maintaining contact with other underground settlements using old radio equipment and jury-rigged antenna systems. Most days, she was lucky to reach settlements within 50 kilometers. That morning, her radio crackled to life with transmissions from places she had never been able to contact before. Settlement 23, in what used to be Japan. Settlement 41 from the ruins of Beijing. Even Settlement 67 from somewhere in Australia. It's Settlement 7 calling any station. Gae-wink said into her microphone, her voice shaking with excitement. Please. Respond. We are receiving your transmissions clearly. The reply came immediately from Settlement 23. Settlement 7. This is Kenji at Settlement 23. We have been trying to reach you for years. Our equipment just started working at full power about 6 hours ago. What is happening over there? Similar reports flooded in from settlements across the globe. Communication systems that had been barely functional were suddenly operating perfectly.
Oh.
Long-range sensors were detecting signals from orbital debris that had been silent for decades. Down in his workshop, Deho was beginning to understand that. His success with the drive core was having consequences far beyond settlement. 7. The energy readings from his improvised monitoring equipment showed power flows that extended far beyond his workshop. Far beyond the settlement, far beyond anything he had intended. Sunhee, look at this, he said, pointing to a display showing energy patterns across a map of the Korean peninsula. The drive core is not just producing power, it's sending signals. Sunhee studied the readings with growing amazement. These patterns are synchronizing with something, but what? Their answer came from an unexpected source. Seo Jin-han had been in stasis for 23 years. His cryogenic pod was located in a medical facility 500 kilometers north of Settlement 7, what used to be Pyongyang. The facility had been abandoned since the cascade, its power systems long dead. But that morning, backup generators throughout the facility roared to life. Life support systems activated. And most importantly, the stasis pods began their automated revival sequences. Seo Kane awoke to blinking lights and the sound of machinery he had not heard in over 2 decades. As his mind cleared from the long sleep, he realized something impossible was happening. The The terraforming network he had helped design before the cascade was coming online? He stumbled to the facility's main computer terminal and accessed the planetary monitoring system. What he saw made him forget his confusion and disorientation. Across the globe, dormant terraforming equipment was reactivating. Atmosphere processors in the Amazon were beginning to clear the toxic air. Soil regenerators in Africa were starting to repair decades of radiation damage. Ocean purifiers were removing contamination that had made large parts of the Pacific uninhabitable. This should not be possible, Xiao said to the empty facility. The master control system was destroyed. In the cascade. Nothing should be able to coordinate all of this. But something was coordinating it. Something was sending precisely the right activation codes to equipment built by a dozen different alien species. Something was creating a unified network from technology that had never been designed to work together. Back in Settlement 7, Deho was starting to realize the magnitude of what he had unleashed. His scanner readings showed that alien technology across the planet was responding to the drive core's energy signature. Each activated system was adding to the network, creating a cascade effect that was spreading faster than he could track. "We need to contact the surface monitoring stations," Deho told Hyun Woo during an emergency meeting. "If this effect is reaching as far as my readings suggest, there should be visible changes happening up there," Captain Youngman Kong commanded. One of the few surface outposts that had maintained contact with the underground settlements. His station was built into a reinforced bunker overlooking what used to be Incheon Harbor. For 20 years, he had watched the dead landscape through reinforced windows. Reporting on radiation levels and weather patterns, that morning he reported something no one had expected to hear. Settlement 7. This is Surface Station 12. I am observing multiple atmospheric changes. The air quality readings have improved by 30% in the last 6 hours. The ocean water appears to be clearing. And there are lights coming from automated facilities that have been dark for decades. The news sent waves of excitement and fear through Settlement 7. People gathered in the common areas, listening to reports from surface stations and other settlements. Some were hopeful that their long nightmare might finally be ending. Others worried that they were attracting dangerous attention to their hidden communities. Jin Woo Nam was among the hopeful ones. He had spent his entire life underground, dreaming of a day when humans might walk freely on the surface again. The idea that Deho's project might make that possible filled him with an energy he had never felt before. "Can I go up with the next surface team?" he asked Deho. "I want to see what's happening up there." Deho looked at the young man's eager face and felt a weight of responsibility he had never experienced before. His desperate attempt to save his settlement was changing the entire world. But he had no idea if those changes would ultimately help humanity or destroy what little they had managed to preserve. Soon, Deho promised. "But first we need to understand what we've started." That night, as Settlement 7 buzzed with excitement and speculation, Seok Jin-han made contact with their communications officer. His message was brief, but carried enormous implications. "This is Dr. Seok Jin-han, former director of the Global Terraforming Initiative. I have been monitoring planetary systems from Research Station 7 in the northern sector. Someone has reactivated the terraforming network. The planet is beginning to heal itself." He paused, then added the words that would change everything. "I need to speak with whoever is responsible for this miracle. Earth is coming back to life, and we need to make sure we are ready for what comes next." Far above them, in the ruins of cities around the world, alien machinery continued to awaken. Each system that came online added to the growing network, creating a web of technology that spanned the globe. And deep in space, sensors on abandoned ships detected the energy signatures of a planet that was supposed to be dead. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity was still alive, that they had accomplished something that had been thought impossible. The question was whether the galaxy would welcome Earth's return or see it as a threat that needed to be eliminated. 2 weeks after the planetary awakening began, the first alien ships appeared in Earth's orbit. Dr. Chanwoo Seo was working at the newly activated Deep Space Monitoring Station when his screens lit up with contact alerts. "This cannot be right," he muttered, adjusting his equipment. The readings showed 3 separate fleets approaching from different directions. Each fleet contained dozens of ships, and they were all heading directly toward Earth. Chan Wu had been a theoretical physicist before the Cascade, specializing in faster-than-light travel theories. When the terraforming network reactivated, automated systems had brought him out of stasis to help monitor the planetary recovery. He never expected his first job would be tracking an alien invasion. He quickly sent an emergency message to all active settlements. This is Deep Space Station 1. We have multiple alien fleets approaching Earth. Estimated arrival time is 6 hours. All settlements should prepare for potential contact situations. The message reached Settlement 7 just as Deho was meeting with the newly formed Earth Defense Council. Representatives from 12 settlements had gathered via video link to discuss how to handle their planet's sudden revival. 6 hours, Hyunwoo Kim repeated, his face pale on the communication screen. Are we talking about an invasion? We do not know their intentions, replied In Suk-ru, former diplomat who had taken charge of coordinating responses between settlements. But we need to assume they are not coming for a friendly visit. Commander Tae-young Lee, who led the small military forces of the eastern settlements, was more direct. We have maybe 200 functioning weapons between all our settlements. If they want to destroy us, we cannot stop them. Deho felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. His modification of the drive core had awakened the planet, but it had also announced humanity's survival to the galaxy. Now alien fleets were coming, and there was no way to know if they came as friends or enemies. There might be another option, Seokjin Han said from his research station. The terraforming network is not just healing the planet, it is also creating new defensive capabilities and detecting weapon systems coming online in major cities around the world. Weapon systems? In-suk asked. What kind of weapons? I do not know yet. The systems are alien in design, left behind during the evacuation wars, but they are responding to the same control signals as the terraforming equipment. As the hours passed, more information became available. The approaching fleets belonged to 3 different species. The largest fleet carried the energy signatures of Valorian ships. The second fleet appeared to be from the Nexari Trade Confederation. The third, smaller but heavily armed, belonged to the Corvan Empire. Why are they all coming at the same time? Jinwoo asked, as he helped Deho monitor the drive core's output. The young man had become Deho's unofficial assistant, learning alien technology faster than anyone expected, because they detected the same signals we have been sending, Deho replied. When the terraforming network activated, it probably sent out identification codes that every species in this part of the galaxy could recognize. The first contact came sooner than expected. The Valorian fleet dropped out of faster than light, travel at the edge of the solar system, and immediately sent a transmission toward Earth. The message was received by communication stations around the globe. Humans of Earth. The transmission began in accented but understandable English. This is Fleet Commander Zaven of the Valorian Republic. Our sensors detected the activation of Valorian quantum technology on your world. We come to investigate this impossible event and reclaim our property. In Suk-ru, speaking for humanity from her position in Settlement 15, responded carefully. Commander Zaven, this is Ambassador In Suk-ru, representing the human settlements of Earth. We welcome peaceful contact with your people. The technology you mentioned was found in derelict condition and has been repaired using human engineering methods. There was a long pause before the Valorian reply came. Human engineering methods cannot repair Valorian quantum drives. Our technology is incompatible with primitive fusion-based power systems. What you claim is scientifically impossible. Nevertheless, In-suk replied, it has been done. We would be happy to share our technical data with your scientists. Before the Valorians could respond, the Nexari fleet arrived and added their voice to the conversation. This is Trade Director Corvith, the Nexari Confederation. Earth is registered in our records as a dead world with no commercial value. If humans have successfully restored planetary systems, we wish to discuss trade agreements and technology exchanges. The third voice came from the Corvan Empire fleet, and it was not friendly. This is War Commander Brutok of the Corvan Empire. Earth was marked for cleansing after the human collapse. If humans have developed advanced technology, they represent a potential threat to galactic stability. Surrender your technology for analysis or face the consequences. Down in settlement. 7. Deho listened to the exchange with growing dread. 3 different alien species, 3 different agendas, and all of them focused on the technology he had accidentally unleashed. What do we do? Minji asked, as they watched the diplomatic communications on their screens. We cannot fight 3 alien fleets. Maybe we do not have to fight them, Deho said slowly. Sunhee, what would happen if I modified the drive core to broadcast its technical specifications? Sunhee looked puzzled. You mean show them how we repaired their technology? Or than that, show them how we improved it. Over the next few hours, as tense communications continued between the alien fleets and human settlements, Deho worked frantically to prepare a demonstration. He connected his workshop's communication system directly to the drive core and began transmitting detailed technical data about his modifications. The effect on the alien fleets was immediate and dramatic. The Valorian ships, which had been maintaining their distance, suddenly moved closer to Earth. Their follow-up transmission carried a tone of amazement rather than suspicion. Human engineer, the Valorian commander said, our scientists are analyzing your data. They report that your modifications have improved our quantum drive efficiency by 47%. This should not be possible with your level of technology. The Nexari response was even more enthusiastic. The commercial applications of this hybrid technology are extraordinary. We wish to negotiate exclusive trading rights immediately. But the Corvin reaction was the most concerning. If humans can improve Valorian technology, they are a greater threat than we calculated. All fleets prepare for immediate planetary bombardment. The moment Deho had feared was arriving. His success with alien technology was being seen as proof that humanity was dangerous. The very innovation that had saved his settlement might now doom his entire species. Wait, Insuk transmitted to all 3 fleets. Before you make any decisions, you should know something important about human engineering capabilities. She paused dramatically, then continued. The drive core modification was completed by one human engineer working in a basement workshop with scrapped materials and basic tools. What do you think we could accomplish if we had access to proper facilities and willing alien partners? Silence that followed her transmission stretched for long minutes. Finally, the Valorian commander responded. We wish to send a technical team to the surface to examine this impossible achievement. Perhaps there is more to human engineering than we previously understood. The Nexar quickly agreed to the proposal, seeing opportunity in cooperation rather than conquest. But the Corvin fleet remained ominously silent, their weapons still charged and ready. As alien shuttles prepared to land on Earth's surface for the first time in decades, Deho realized that his desperate attempt to save settlement 7 had evolved into something much larger. Humanity was about to be judged by the galaxy based on his improvised engineering work. The question was whether the aliens would see humans as valuable partners or dangerous competitors. The answer would determine whether Earth's revival marked the beginning of a new golden age or the start of another war for survival. The alien landing shuttles touched down on Earth's surface at dawn. For the first time in 25 years, non-human visitors walked on the planet that the galaxy had declared dead. The landing site was a cleared area near the ruins of Sol, close enough to Settlement 7 that Deho could reach it quickly. Director Ji-hoon Park, Deho's cousin and the newly appointed head of the Global Engineering Initiative, stood waiting with a small group of human representatives. Ji-hoon had emerged from Settlement 19 when the planetary network activated, bringing with him years of experience in managing complex technical projects. Remember, Ji-hoon told the group, "We are not begging for their help. We are showing them what humans can accomplish. There is a difference." The first shuttle belonged to the Valorians. 3 tall, pale beings emerged, their skin having a slight blue tint that seemed to shift in the sunlight. They wore flowing robes covered in the same moving symbols that decorated their technology. The lead Valorian introduced himself as Chief Engineer Mouthon. "Human Deho Park," Mouthon said, his voice carrying a musical quality. "We have traveled far to witness your impossible achievement. Our greatest scientists could not modify quantum drive cores in the manner you have accomplished. Deho stepped forward, trying not to show how nervous he felt. Thank you for coming, Engineer Malthon. I would be happy to show you what we learned about your technology. The second shuttle brought the Nexari delegation. They looked more familiar to human eyes. Being roughly human-sized with scaled skin and large eyes adapted for low-light conditions. Trade Director Korvath appeared eager and excited as she approached the group. Humans, she said, in rapid clipped speech. Our preliminary analysis of your technical data suggests commercial opportunities beyond current galactic standards. We wish to discuss partnership agreements immediately. The third shuttle remained sealed. Corvin had sent observers, but were clearly not ready for friendly contact. Admiral Su Yang-Quan, who commanded Earth's hastily organized space monitoring network, kept a careful watch on their shuttle from her mobile command center. Let them watch, Ji-Hoon said, when someone expressed concern about the silent Corvin. Sometimes the best diplomacy is showing your capabilities without making threats. Tours began at the ruins of Seoul's old technology district. Seo-Jin Han had worked with recovery teams to clear several buildings, where human engineers were now working with awakened alien systems. The sight that greeted the alien visitors was unlike anything they had expected. In one building, human technicians had connected Valorian quantum processors to Nexari data storage systems and Corvin power regulators. The three technologies, which had never been designed to work together, were operating in perfect harmony under human coordination. This should not function, Malthon said, his musical voice taking on a tone of confusion. As far as Andresuwa Mokonriwa, go on Gunsa, Busum Kai, Sakano Supara, well, a guy Gunsa, as one sora, suck us, require specific harmonic frequencies that Nexari systems cannot provide. That was true until we built these interface modules, explained Dr. Myeong-song, a biotechnologist who had specialized in cross-species medical equipment. We discovered that the incompatibilities between your technologies are not fundamental. They just need translation layers. She showed them a series of small devices that looked like crystalline flowers with metal stems. Each device was monitoring the energy patterns from one alien system and converting them into forms that another system could understand. We call them harmony bridges, Myeong continued. They make different technologies speak the same language. Korvath examined one of the devices with growing excitement. The commercial applications are extraordinary. Different species could share technology for the first time in galactic history. The efficiency gains would be immeasurable, but it was the next stop on the tour that truly amazed the visitors. In a vast underground facility, human engineers had assembled what they called the Integration Workshop. Dozens of different alien technologies were working together to accomplish tasks that no single species had achieved alone. Jae-In-go, one of Deho's former students, demonstrated a manufacturing system that combined Valorian precision control with Nexari material processing and Corvin durability enhancement. The system could produce components that were stronger, more efficient, and more reliable than anything built using single-species technology. How did you learn to do this? Malthon asked, clearly struggling to understand what he was seeing. Necessity. Deho replied simply, when you are trying to survive with limited resources, you learn to make everything work with everything else. We had alien technology from dozens of different species scattered across our planet. We had to find ways to make it useful. But the theoretical knowledge required, Malthon protested. The understanding of quantum harmonics and dimensional field interactions. We learn by doing, Jayan said with a shrug. When something did not work, we kept trying different approaches until it did work. Sometimes we did not understand why something worked, but if it helped people survive, we used it. The aliens spent 3 days examining human engineering projects across the globe. They saw atmospheric processors that combined technologies from 5 different species to clean Earth's air faster than any single system could manage. They observed communication networks that allowed instant contact across galactic distances by linking different, faster-than-light transmission methods. Most impressive was the planetary defense grid that Seogajin Han had helped develop. The system used weapon platforms left behind by various species, all coordinated by human-built control systems. It was not the most powerful defense network in the galaxy, but it was the most adaptable. Your approach to engineering is unlike anything we have encountered, admitted Malthon during a meeting on the final day. Our species develops technology through careful research and systematic improvement over centuries. But you combine different approaches in ways we never considered. Because you never had to, Deho replied. Each of your species had time to develop perfect solutions for your specific needs. Humans had to survive using whatever we could find. The revelation that changed everything came from an unexpected source. Dr. Chanwu Seo had been analyzing the energy signatures from all the integrated systems when he discovered something remarkable. The combined systems are not just more efficient, he announced during a conference call with settlement leaders. They are evolving. The harmony bridges are learning from the interactions between different technologies and automatically optimizing performance. This news reached the alien delegations just as they were preparing to return to their fleets. The implications were staggering. Human engineering had not just made alien technologies work together. It had created systems that could improve themselves. Korvath was the first to respond. We propose an immediate technology sharing agreement. Ixari commercial interests would benefit enormously from access to human integration techniques. Malthan was more cautious but equally interested. The Valorian Republic would consider a research partnership. Your methods could advance our understanding of quantum mechanics by centuries. But it was the response from the Corvin shuttle that surprised everyone. For the first time since arriving, War Commander Brutok sent a direct message. The Corvin Empire recognizes that human engineering capabilities represent a new paradigm in galactic technology development. We withdraw our threat assessment. However, we demand that human integration techniques not be shared with our enemies. Insukru, speaking for humanity, gave a diplomatic response that would reshape galactic politics. Human engineering techniques will be shared with any species willing to work peacefully with Earth. We believe that cooperation benefits everyone more than competition. As the alien shuttles prepared to depart, Deho stood with Minji on the observation deck of the new surface facility. Below them, human and alien technicians were already working together on the first joint engineering projects. Do you think we made the right choice? Mingi asked, sharing our methods with everyone. Deho watched a group of human engineers teaching Valorian scientists how to build harmony bridges. I think we made the human choice. We solve problems by bringing different ideas together, not by keeping them apart. The shuttles lifted off, carrying news that would transform the galaxy. Humanity had not just survived their planet's destruction. They had developed capabilities that made them valuable partners rather than primitive survivors. But in the depths of space, other forces were watching Earth's revival with different intentions. The galaxy was about to learn that not everyone welcomed humanity's return to the galactic community. 6 months after the first alien contact, Earth looked like a different planet. Green forests covered areas that had been radioactive wasteland. Clear blue oceans replaced toxic seas. Cities rose from ruins as human and alien technologies worked together to rebuild civilization faster than anyone thought possible. But not everyone in the galaxy was happy about humanity's return. The warning came from an unexpected source. A small Nexari trading ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. At the edge of the solar system, and immediately broadcast an emergency message. Earth Command, this is Captain Vorthok of the merchant vessel Starwind. I bring urgent news. The Corvin Empire has declared humanity a galactic threat. A war fleet of 300 ships is approaching your system. Estimated arrival time is 18 hours. General Kung Yi Chen, who now commanded Earth's Unified Defense Forces, received the message at the Planetary Command Center, built into the mountains near what used to be Geneva. She had spent the last 6 months organizing humanity's scattered military resources and learning to operate alien defense systems. 300 ships, she said to her staff, her voice calm, despite the magnitude of the threat. How many functional warships do we have? 47, replied Commander Taeyong Lee. Most of them are modified cargo vessels with improvised weapons. We have maybe a dozen ships that could survive a real space battle. The odds were impossible. Even with all their technological advances, humanity could not match the military might of a full Corvin war fleet. But General Cunye had not survived the cascade by accepting impossible odds. Send a message to all settlements, she ordered. Activate the planetary defense grid. Get me a direct line to Engineer Daeho Park. Daeho was in his new laboratory on the surface when the call came through. The facility was a joint human-alien research center where engineers from multiple species worked together on integration projects. He had been testing a new Harmony Bridge design when his communication panel flashed with emergency priority signals. Daeho, we need a miracle, General Kunji said without preamble. The Corvin are coming with everything they have. Our ships cannot stop them, and our planetary defenses are not designed for this scale of attack. Daeho looked around his laboratory at the various projects in development. Human technicians working alongside Valorian quantum specialists. Axari. Trade engineers learning integration techniques. Systems that combine technologies from dozens of different species in ways that should not work but did. How long do we have, he asked. 18 hours. That might be enough. Daeho turned to address the mixed group of human and alien engineers. Everyone, we have an emergency project. We need to integrate the entire planetary defense network into a single, coordinated system. The work began immediately. Teams of engineers spread across the globe, connecting defense platforms that had been built by different species at different times. The Harmony Bridge technology that had impressed the alien visitors 6 months ago now became humanity's last hope for survival. Seokjin Han coordinated the effort from his research station, monitoring the integration process as dozens of different weapon systems came online under unified control. Atmospheric defense platforms designed by the Valorians. Ground-based energy cannons left behind by the Nexari. Orbital strike platforms built by species whose names humanity had never learned. The integration is working, Seokjin reported as the 18th hour approached, but I am not sure it will be enough. The Corvin fleet is massive. The Corvin war fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 300 ships arranged in attack patterns that had conquered dozens of worlds across the galaxy. War Commander Brutok, leading from his flagship, opened communications with Earth. Humans of the dead world. His voice boomed across all frequencies. You have violated galactic law by developing prohibited weapons technology. Your integration methods threaten the established order. Surrender immediately or face total annihilation. Ambassador Yunji Hong, who had replaced In Suk-ru as humanity's chief diplomat, responded from the orbital station that served as Earth's government center. War Commander Brutok, Earth extends an offer of peaceful cooperation. Our technology is defensive in nature and available to all species that approach us in friendship. Your friendship is irrelevant. Your technology makes you dangerous. You will surrender your integration methods and submit to Corvin oversight, or you will be eliminated. Then you leave us no choice, Yunji replied sadly. Earth will defend itself. The battle began as the Corvin fleet moved toward Earth's orbital defense platforms. The first exchange of fire seemed to confirm everyone's worst fears. The Corvin weapons easily overwhelmed the orbital platforms, destroying them in brilliant explosions that lit up space around the planet. But as the Corvin fleet advanced, something unexpected happened. The destroyed platforms did not simply explode and disappear. Instead, Their debris began moving in coordinated patterns, forming new defensive formations around the planet. What is happening? What Commander Brutok demanded from his flagship. Our sensors show the destroyed platforms are still active. The answer came from Deho's laboratory, where he was coordinating the planetary defense network. Integration does not just mean making things work together, he explained to General Kyunji as they watched the battle unfold. It means making the whole system greater than the sum of its parts. The Harmony bridges had done more than connect different defense systems. They had created a network that could rebuild itself from its own wreckage. Each destroyed platform contributed its materials and energy to the overall defense grid. The more the Corvin attacked, the stronger Earth's defenses became. The turning point came when the reformed orbital defenses began firing back with weapons that combined technologies from all the different species that had contributed to the network. The energy beams were stronger than pure Valorian weapons. The targeting systems were more accurate than Nexari designs. The power sources were more reliable than Corvin engineering. For the first time in galactic history, a Corvin war fleet found itself outgunned by a single planet's defenses. "This is impossible," War Commander Brutok transmitted, his voice no longer confident.
Us!
"No single world should have this level of defensive capability. Earth is not a single world anymore," Admiral Suyang Quan replied from her command ship. "We are part of a galactic community. That community stands together." As if to prove her point, Valorian and Nexari ships began arriving at the edge of the solar system. Not military vessels, but merchant ships and research vessels. All armed with human-designed integration systems that made them far more effective than their size suggested. The Corvin fleet found itself surrounded by a coalition of species that had never worked together before, all coordinated by human integration technology and united by the principle that cooperation was stronger than conquest. War. Commander Brutok faced a choice no Corvin commander had ever confronted. His fleet was powerful, but it was outnumbered and outgunned by an alliance that grew stronger with every ship that joined it. "We withdraw," he announced, his voice heavy with defeat. "But this is not finished. The Corvin Empire will not forget this humiliation." "You are welcome to return any time," General Kuhn replied. "Earth will be here, and so will our friends." 5 years later, Deho Park stood in the observation deck of the first truly integrated galactic exploration ship. The vessel, named Hope's Bridge, was crewed by members of 17 different species and powered by engines that combined the best technologies from across the known galaxy. Jinwoo Nam, now a qualified integration engineer himself, joined Deho at the viewing window. Below them, Earth sparkled like a blue and green jewel, its surface covered with cities that housed not just humans, but representatives from dozens of different worlds. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" Jinwoo asked, watching. As another mixed species research vessel docked with their orbital station, Deho smiled as he remembered the desperate scavenger who had found a broken alien engine in the ruins of Seoul. "I just wanted to keep the lights on," he said. "Everything else was just making things work that were not supposed to work together, and now we keep building bridges," Deho replied. "The galaxy is a big place, and there are always new combinations to try." Far across the galaxy, on worlds that had never heard of humanity before the Great Awakening, young engineers of a dozen different species were learning integration techniques in schools named after human teachers. The age of isolated species was ending, replaced by an era of cooperation that had begun with one desperate engineer's refusal to accept that broken things could not be fixed. The Corvin Empire still existed, still threatened, still claimed that diversity weakened rather than strengthened. But their influence was fading as more and more worlds discovered that working together created possibilities that no single species could achieve alone. And in his workshop, now expanded into a research complex that spanned several city blocks, Deho Park continued to tinker with things that did not fit together. Because somewhere in the galaxy, there was always another impossible problem waiting for a human solution.